Hello, Susan Piver here. I am jumping on Facebook Live, which is awesome. What a great thing. Thank you, Facebook. To talk to you about your meditation practice, just to make myself available if you have any questions, because who doesn't have questions about meditation? So already on Facebook, some people have posted certain questions, so thank you, those people. And I'll do my best to offer something useful. And if you have questions, just put them in chat or, well, I guess that's the only option really. And I'll do my best to answer them. So one question from Heather is very topical and pertinent, and it is political rage, perimenopausal rage, ragey rage. You're my kind of girl, Heather. Not just hard to sit with, they make it hard to sit, period. How do I fidge it down to a constructive response? Well, obviously this is a deeply relevant and important question. And I'll do my best to offer something useful. It's a tough one because I realized how tough it was myself a few months ago. And this, I don't mean to pass any judgment on whoever you're going to vote for president if you are an American citizen. But I have my own beliefs, and I was practicing, doing my practice, and I noticed that I was thinking, and what I was thinking was, maybe someone will kill Donald Trump. Maybe I should do it. And, you know, immediately realized that this was not a good line of inquiry to pursue. Especially while meditating or period. So I had to sort of figure out, you know, how do I deal with my own rage? And it's a horrible, we're in a crazy moment right now in this country. So I have two suggestions. One is for on the cushion and one is for off the cushion. So while you're meditating, if you are just consumed by rage, ragey rage, sort of the only option is rage on, but in a particular way. So in meditation, the object of attention is your breath, and you place your attention on the breath, and when it strays, you bring it back. Sometimes that is impossible, particularly when rage is involved, because it burns you up. It is consuming. Hi, Ethan. So in such cases, you can replace your breath as the object of your practice with your rage. So what that means is you find where the rage is in your body, or whatever feeling it is, and you tune into that sensation. Is it hot? Is it cold? Because some rage is icy. Does it burn? Does it make your shoulders go like this? Does it make your heart pound? Does it make your throat constrict? Does it make you, however it feels to you? And you place your attention on that feeling. And when your attention strays into your thoughts, you bring it back to the rage. And when it strays into thoughts is especially important, because what it is most likely to stray into is, I feel this way because this, that, and the other. So tuning into the rage does not mean tuning into the story of the rage. Those are thoughts. They may be perfectly reasonable and accurate, but not what we are meditating on. So when your attention strays, just to repeat, into thought, the story of why you feel what you feel. Let go of the story and come back to the feeling. And there is something about turning toward what we feel that launches a kind of metabolization process that may take a second, it may take a lifetime, but something begins to process simply through the light of our own awareness, which is always the healing balm. So the second suggestion, and I'll go to the next question after this, is, and again, just put them in this Facebook window if you want, and I'll refresh, is off the cushion. You're feeling enraged. Let's say it's about Donald Trump, just for an example. So you can feel enraged, even as meditators, spiritual practitioners, we're human beings, and we're not trying to only feel all Zen all the time, which is not really a thing. So my feeling is and I realized this when I was meditating and wishing someone would kill someone else. You can feel enraged, you can feel hate, you can feel furious, you can feel grief-stricken, you can feel like if only that person wasn't doing what they do, everything would be better. No problem. There's only one thing that you can't do. You can't think that you are any different than that person. That's where first of all, you're not. And second of all, that's where all the problem comes in. So of course, we're not doing egregious things and trying to ruin, and countries and so on. But have you ever been in a situation where you made something up so that you could get over? Probably, I have. Have you ever been so incensed with someone that you just tossed an insult at them? Well, yes, I have. So even though the degree is quite different, the impulse and the humanity are the same. So when we start to think that there's us and them, the people that are good and the people that do stupid things, that's where we create the troubles. So on the cushion, focus on the rage, not the story. Off the cushion, feel what you feel, and don't be trapped by the notion that you are any different than the person that is making you so pissed off. Hope that's useful. Okay, the next question. Really good questions here, you guys. And yes, Tommy's second question, put as many questions as you want. Is it possible to meditate while running, or do I need to focus only on the meditation? That's a wonderful question, because I talk to a lot of people who say, I can't sit still. So running is my meditation, or swimming is my meditation, or knitting is my meditation, gardening is my meditation, and those are wonderful things to do. However, they are not meditation. They are meditative. Meditation, in the sense that I'm talking about it, and Ethan, and who I saw here earlier, is a discipline. It's a particular practice, and you are either doing it or you are not doing it. However, the things that we do that are meditative are also of great value. And the thing that makes them meditative is that they synchronize mind and body. Swimming is a great example. It's so focused on breathing, and if you start thinking about something else, you could inhale water. So your mind and your body are together. Same with when you're knitting and gardening and running. So again, meditative, wonderful. But the discipline of meditation, of sitting and cultivating the ability to be with yourself as you are and remain mindful and aware of your experience and your environment, that is a particular discipline that will serve you in anything else that you do in your life, including running and so on. So meditative, meditation, both good, but different. Hi, Matthew. Hi, Scott. Wow, so awesome to see you guys. Hi, Amanda and Connie. Okay, the next question is from Tommy. What happens when I'm looking over here because that's where my big screen is. What happens when you know you need to sit with fear and uncertainty to help you work with it, but it's that very fear and uncertainty that persuades you to avoid your cushion? I can see my avoidance, but some days I can't convince myself to take the medicine I so desperately need. Well, first, Tommy, let me just say, I feel you, brother. I relate to that. I suffer from that. But here's what I want to say. You don't need to sit with fear and uncertainty in order to work with them. You just have to sit with yourself. And when your mind becomes absorbed in thought, you let go. Even if it's a thought about, now I get why I'm afraid and uncertain, you let go and come back to the breath. You call it thinking and come back. So, however, you don't have to ignore or, isolate the fear and uncertainty. But as you're meditating and you know that you're in a fearful and uncertain place, you can include the texture of that feeling because it's there. So sometimes I sit down to meditate and I know I'm depressed because I was born that way. And it bees that way sometimes, as the great guitar player Hubert Sumlin once said to me. So I feel heavy. I feel something, it's like on my shoulders pushing me down. I feel dark. I feel my breath is kind of shallow. That's okay. That's me right now. So when you tune into those things, in your case, when you are dealing with fear and uncertainty, that's who you are right now. And you can acknowledge the texture of those mind states, those felt states, without delving into the story, which is the figuring out part. And you can try the figuring out part later, and I would call that the practice of contemplation, as opposed to the practice of meditation. So in contemplation, you bring up something that you want to understand, not to think about it and analyze it, but to be with that thought. So the thought could be, I am afraid because I'm getting old, or whatever your reason is. And you can just sit with that notion and make that the object of your attention instead of your breath. I am afraid because I'm getting old. My birthday's coming up in a few weeks, or months, so that one always comes up for me around this time of year. And just notice the feelings that come with that sentence, and just keep saying, repeat that from time to time to yourself silently. Hi Martha, hi Connie, hi Dennis. I feel afraid because I am getting old. And just see what arises. In other words, let yourself be with the fear, not to resolve it, but to sort of extend the hand of friendship to it. Create some warmth between you and it, as opposed to making it a problem to solve, which it is too. But the best practice is always gentleness. Gentleness towards yourself and what you're afraid of. So I hope that's useful. Please, please, please let me know. Next question. And I'm going to refresh. Feel free to put your questions in here if you like. Second question. I practice in the Shambhala tradition. Me too. But recently I've had a couple of friends mention mantra meditation. Any thoughts on mantras and their value as an alternative or additional layer to following the breath? That's a good question too. So there are all sorts of practices in the Shambhala tradition and in the Open Heart Project and in Ethan's Interdependence Project, and if you go to Lodro's Mindful Studio in New York, we teach the practice called shamatha, which is a breath awareness practice. Very foundational, very simple, very profound, awesome. If you if you have any interest in pursuing the Buddhist path formally, you may at some point encounter other kinds of practices that include mantras that you say to yourself silently or semi-audibly, or visualizations, things that you imagine, or ways that you imagine yourself. But the foundation for those practices is always shamatha. And in the Shambhala tradition, which is a Vajrayana tradition, those other practices are more likely to be associated with a deepening connection to a particular teacher. Because this is in the Buddhist tradition, not the Hindu tradition or TM, which I know I think a lot of people have benefited tremendously from that practice, and involves mantra. So I would say the value as an alternative or additional layer to following the breath is related to a connection to a teacher. I have a traditionalist, and that's the traditional view, and I espouse it. So I will also say about shamatha that when you enter the path, this is, as I say, the foundational practice. It is, even if you go on to have a lifelong mantra practice, you will always start with shamatha and end with shamatha, the breath awareness practice. So say you start on this journey and you go to shamatha and you go to vipassana and you do visualizations and you do mantras and you do prostrations and you do all these other things that are along the traditional path. At the end, in a particular sense, you will come back to shamatha. It is the alpha and the omega. It is the ground, the path, and the fruition. It is the foundational and a fruitional practice. So I'm saying all this so that you can think so that you don't have to think, well, it's more advanced to do something else, because it really is not. Shamatha is a very advanced practice, and it's also a very simple practice, but not easy. So I hope that that is useful. And I see someone else is typing, but I also notice another question that is, why do we keep our eyes open in meditation? And I'll just mention that briefly. If you've practiced with the Open Heart Project or in the Shambhala tradition, you probably know already the answers to this. But in the way I teach the practice and others, it's taught as an eyes open practice. The eyes are open and the gaze is cast down. Why do you do that? Because people say it's easier to meditate when your eyes are open. And that is true. It is easier to meditate when your eyes are open, in the sense that for most people, it is easier to retain attention on breath when you close your eyes and have less distraction. And that would be very handy and important if the object of practice was to become awesome at following the breath. But it is not. Say you practice meditation and you were now the world's preeminent follower of the breath. No one was better than you at following the breath. Well, that might have some good, that might be awesome, but it wouldn't be that useful or cool. So the object is not to be good at meditation. The object is to be good at being yourself in your life. This is in this particular lineage, meditation is a practice of wakefulness, of being right here. We're not trying to go somewhere else. We're trying to be right here. And when you close your eyes to practice, there can be a sense of withdrawing, which sometimes is absolutely necessary. However, when you open your eyes, you have to come back. And you can feel like, oh, my meditative equipoise or equanimity is on the cushion, and now I got to go into my life where I don't have it. But when you sit with your eyes open, you never have to come back because you never went anywhere. And there's less of a divide between your meditation practice and your post-meditation practice, which is what meditators call the rest of your life. So that's also the last thing I'll say, I guess, is when you practice with your eyes closed, it is it's more likely that you will fall asleep, which is very common and ordinary and not a big deal, even though it's frustrating. And a lot of people fall asleep when they meditate. And the reason for that, I've done a very comprehensive anecdotal study of this, is because everyone's really tired. And when you sit down to meditate, you sort of relax, and things that we're trying to hold at bay can arise. And for many of us, that thing is fatigue. So it might just be better to take a nap. It's a practice of wakefulness. It's hard to be awake when your eyes are closed. Okay, next question, and maybe the last one, we'll see. I gotta look over my little stand here. How do I handle the little aches and pains in my back, buttocks, etc.? Nothing major but annoying from getting my attention while being still in meditation. I understand the, quote, acknowledge/let go action for thoughts, but I have a hard time doing that for annoying uncomfortableness. Yeah, I understand. And same instruction, however. You can't not notice pain. If you could, that would be a great thing. But one of the things about pain is you really can't game it. It's there, you feel it. And when we try to pretend we don't, or make it go away, or be pissed off at it, it seems to amplify it. So you can treat aches and pains like thoughts. You can notice, oh, I have an ache in my back. And you can tune into it for a moment to feel its texture, not your irritation at having pain, although you can feel that certainly, but more like, what does this pain feel like? Is it cold? Is it hot? Is it pinching? Is it pounding? Is it pulsing? And notice it. And then let go and bring your attention back to the breath. And you may feel it again. Well, just do that again. Sometimes the pain is not little, it's big. And in situations like that, you can actually and if you want to meditate, because you might be better to just relax and lie down. But if you want to meditate, you can make the pain itself the object of your meditation, which may make it feel like it amplifies a little bit at first, but often that calms down and you can include it in your meditation. So, of course, when you say I have a hard time doing that, it's annoying. I understand and I relate very much. But you can include it in your practice. And when in doubt, don't practice shamatha meditation. Immediately jump to a higher practice, a more difficult practice, which, I'm not joking, which is the practice of being gentle toward yourself. This is the high practice and the best practice. So a good thing to experiment with. So I think those are all the questions for today, and what a delight to be able to spend this time with you. I hope that you found this useful. If you have other questions, if you're watching this video post live, just leave those questions in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them. So I thank you so much for joining me. I wish you from the bottom of my heart all the blessings of this profound practice.